All right, are we live? We're live. Welcome everyone back to the ARCA Racing Podcast. I'm your host Colby Evans, aka Startin Parker here, coming to you live on a Thursday. As originally we were supposed to go live normally on Tuesday. However, we didn't have our entry lists yet, so I couldn't do a podcast for this weekend without entry lists. And unfortunately, I left the live stream up and I didn't post an update. So I saw that a lot of you guys apparently came here to watch on Tuesday. But yeah, so needless to say, I apologize for that. And again, welcome everyone to the show. I apologize for Tuesday. We just didn't have any entry lists. Otherwise, I obviously would have done my podcast at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, but here we are on Thursday nonetheless. So welcome everyone to tonight's show. We're going to be reviewing my weekend at IRP with Fast Track Racing and the race itself. Connor Zilisch wins yet again. And we are going to be previewing two races this weekend, a doubleheader weekend for ARCA. We got the ARCA Menard Series main division at Salem and the ARCA Menard Series West at Shasta. Previewing those two races. Good entry list for Salem, a disappointing entry list for Shasta. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. We're going to go through my little intro. I go through the beginning of every podcast when I go live as we let a few more people file in here. And we will jump right into my weekend of IRP because trust me, I got a lot to say. Good stuff to say, just a lot to say. So you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media, Startin Parker on Twitter for all news, notes, and tweets and all that. Enter the BJ McLeod Hero Card giveaway. We are doing that drawing tomorrow. So if you guys want to head over my account, scroll down my timeline, you will see that giveaway. Highly recommend you guys go there. Like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on that bell for notifications so you guys never miss a podcast when I go live. We are less than 100 subscribers away from 2,000. So if you like what you see here and you're not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. It'd be much appreciated. My goal is to be at 2,000 by the end of the year. And we're only, I think we're like 86, 87 away. So that's not very much. It's not very much. So if we could get to that goal of 2,000, that'd be a good end of the year season goal. And super chats are open. If you'd like to financially support the show, it'd be much appreciated. You don't always have to, but if you want to, again, much appreciated. And check out the racingexperts.com for all NASCAR meter related content. All right, so let's jump right into it, shall we? Indianapolis Raceway Park. Very, very fun little short track in Brownsburg, Indianapolis. Not very far at all. Sorry, my dad was just ranting like he usually does. My Indianapolis Raceway Park is only about, 10 miles out of Indiana. Indianapolis, Indiana, I should say, in a little town called Brownsburg. Cute little short track. I went there in 2010 with my father. We went there, it was 2010, right? We had won a trip from J.D. Byrider. I'm not sure if that name is familiar to you guys. And through Tony Stewart. We won a meet and greet with Tony Stewart, and we got to attend all the races at IRP and all the races at the Brickyard. So this was my first time to IRP in 14 years, and honestly, where I could actually remember the trip, because let's face it, I was only 9 years old the first time I went, so obviously I probably wasn't going to remember it as good as I do now. But it is kind of funny to see that sorry, my hair looks like crap right now, guys. I don't have time to comb it. But it's kind of fun to see that the seats that we sat in are not even there anymore. They used to have grandstands pretty much all the way around the track almost, except the backstretch, but through turns 3 and 4, and they're not even there anymore. So that's kind of funny. This weekend, I wanted to do something a little bit more. Andy Hillenberg was running 5 cars. So I hitched up the PR director or the main guy from Andy Hillenberg's team. His name is John, great guy, and just asked if they needed extra bodies. Obviously, they did, and so I was put on the 01 car for Cody Dennison. Not an unnormal gig. My first time with Fast Track Racing. Usually, as of course you guys know, I work with Brad Smith Motorsports. But Brad's just starting parking at the moment. He's just trying to get by. His his real biggest problem right now is his motor situation. He only has the one motor, the one ECR motor. It's really old, and frankly, it's just he's in a tough situation right now with his motors. So Brad did not mind, obviously, me going to Andy Hillenberg's team. Our 01 entry was part of an astounding 31 car field, the biggest entry list for an IRP race. in a long, long time. Very stout field, I should say. I was very happy to see how many cars were going to be showing up. Obviously, we're going to have a couple of starting parks in there, but at the end of the day, still a very, very solid field of cars compared to the last couple of years we had seen in the ARCA series at IRP. The other 4 fast track entries, of course, the notables, the reason why Cody was in the 0-1 is Zachary Tinkle is the primary driver in the East Division. This was an East combo race, so he was in the 11. And then we had the 10. It was Jason Alexander, the 99 of Michael Maples, and then the 12 of Presley Soar, who was in his first full race ever. So like I said, this was a big deal, big weekend for fast track racing. You had Zachary Tinkle returning, Presley in his first full race effort, and Jason Alexander back as well. So a lot of fresh faces for that team. You also had Andrew Patterson from the Noble team. They were back again. Tyler Tomasi was making his debut in the ARCA series. Looking down at the entry list here, Becca Monopoly in the brand new City Garage team. Casey Carden was back in the 86. Jackson McLaren in a second Noble entry. Lawless Allen in the Rayome entry was back again. Brayton Laster was back this time driving for Peterson. Yeah, like I said, just a lot of notable names. Obviously, with this being an East combo race, you're going to have a couple of extra cars in the field. And, like usual, there's 5 of us. And, it's like, man, I'm on the 0-1 of Denison. Well, the goal is to at least outrun the other 4 cars. That's kind of the goal every week. I don't know if that is the goal with how fast track racing works every week. And those guys, they try to make sure they outrun each other. Obviously, they want the whole team to do well, but it's like at the end of the day, I'm like, we got Cody behind the wheel. We got a good setup with Dick Doney as our crew chief. I think we're going to beat the other 4. That was the goal. That was the goal in my mind. Let's beat the other 4 fast track racing cars. But it was going to be tough to beat. Presley had a good piece under him. Tinkle always has a good piece under him with Todd Perez as the crew chief. Michael Maples has been doing a steady climb in performance. And Jason Alexander, like I said, he brings a lot of money to the table. And he definitely had a good car too. Like I said, it was a toss-up to see which of the 5 fast track cars was going to be the fastest. But I was hoping we'd be the best one, obviously. So to take you our day before we get to the actual race, I'll take you guys a trip through our day first. We got the tech. It is kind of funny with Brad. Usually we have to do like 4 or 5 things before we go to tech, and it's like, man, with Andy Hillenberg's team, we just go straight to tech. It was kind of confused by that, but no, we got into the tech line. Took a little bit. Obviously, everybody rushes to tech immediately. There's no strict order that you have to go into tech. Teams just whoever gets in line gets in line pretty much. So we get through tech. We get about all the way to the engine station where they, God, I can't think of the word, but they like check their engine to make sure you're either a spec or a legacy. And we noticed that we had a fuel leak. Apparently, there was a seal in the fuel cell area that had not been well properly sealed, and fuel was just covered, and I mean covered in the bay. And then underneath the car, it was leaking, and it was leaking bad. The car was full when we left for tech, and I wouldn't shock me if our fuel tank was half empty, if not close to being empty by the time we were done. That's how much fuel we lost. We lost a lot of fuel. Hey, that was, yeah. And it was just like, I felt bad for the guys because, like, there's nothing we can really do. We wanted to get through the rest of tech, and thankfully the rest of tech went fine. We passed the weight stations, the body stations. All that went fine. We just had this dumb fuel leak. So me and one of the crew guys, we opened up the deck lid and had to take off all the nuts and bolts and all that crap. And I mean, he was the expert. I just helped him get all the nuts and bolts off because he has arthritis. He had arthritis in his hands, so couldn't do it as good. But we got that done. We got it fixed, got it all cleaned up. It was a mess. It was just a colored mess of fuel kicked underneath. So all good. Nothing serious there. We got Cody out for practice. Practice went well by my standards. I mean, Cody didn't wreck, so that's good. Cody wasn't slow, so that's good. That's just kind of how I chalk it up to things. I mean, I'm not a crew chief or a team owner, so I just assume, if we're not slowest and we're showing good speed and we're passing cars up there. It looks good to me. Cody said the car was fine. Made a couple of adjustments for qualifying, and this is kind of where it went bad, because in qualifying, I could physically notice Cody's car was really rolling over into the corners. And I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. When a car goes into the corner and from the top of the fender to the tire, there's an increased gap. Well, that's what was happening with Cody's car. And I'm like, oh boy, we're rolling over, and we're rolling over bad. And I talked to Cody about it, and he was optimistic where it was bad, but he didn't think it was, there was any damage. I was actually helping get equipment ready. We had to move our equipment because the Truck Series guys were staging where our garage area was. So while I was doing that, it was apparent that we had drug the entire right side sway bar complete, like grinded it right off the car. Like it was useless. It was destroyed. And so the 01 was pulled out of line, put up on jack stands, and obviously the more skilled guys, I'm skilled, but I'm not, I don't know how to do sway bars assemblies. I haven't done that before. So I just let, something just broke. Okay. So yeah, and the Cody Dennison's actually in the chat right now, but yeah, so they pulled the 01 out of line, put it up on stands, and I'm confused because I just come back from getting our pit stalls and stuff to the proper position where the officials wanted them. And then all of a sudden I see Tim Monroe, who was, he used to work at Fast Track full time. He now only works part time because he works for the AM Racing Dirt Team, the AM Racing Dirt Team. And I just see him come back, and like I said, he's holding a sway bar, and it's completely grinded off. So what do? In short story, we take the entire, if I had to correct, the entire sway bar assembly from Brad Smith's car and put it into ours. So Cody ran with Brad Smith's, I think both sway bars. I'm not sure if he ran with both or just one. I've never seen that before, and that was absolutely hilarious. And it just goes to show you how much of a family the series is. I mean, Brad and Andy are like this. They are close friends. So I'm sure Brad didn't really care. He was going to start and park anyway. He admitted to me he was only going to run like 20, 30 laps at most. Maybe not even that. So he said, it's less mileage on the engine. I still get the pay. I still get the points. So, for Brad, it was nothing. And for us, it meant we could at least start the race, although sadly we had to go to the back. Cody had still qualified 21st, which, even rolling over with the car rolling over the way it was still not too bad. He probably could have done better. I think he said he could have done better, but the car just wasn't, obviously something wrong with the car. But unfortunately, we had to start at the rear, and that luckily that didn't hurt us too bad, but it definitely didn't help. But yeah, like I said, so we'll now tap into more of the race stuff, and I'll kind of go in between the race itself and our race in the 01 as we go on. So going back to the actual race stuff, obviously the E-Series Championship lighting up. In practice, outside of us, practice showed William Sawalich. I'm not sure, was he my pick for last week's show? I don't even remember. But William Sawalich, fastest in practice, 22:39, 110 miles per hour, pretty fast around the track, to be honest with you. He ran, I believe that was a qualifying lap, because he ran that lap. That was one of his last laps ran. So I wonder if that was a qualifying run. Same for Connor Zilisch. Same for Andres Perez de Lara, Tony Breidinger. A lot of their fastest laps were qualifying. I have to imagine they were qualifying runs with how late they ran them in the session. And then, of course, qualifying session right afterwards. The pole would go to William Sawalich as well. And a surprising LeVar Scott and Andres Perez de Lara, second and third. That was definitely a surprise. And I've said, watch LeVar Scott, man. He's been a dark horse in a lot of these races. Connor Zilisch fourth, Gio Ruggiero fifth, Lawless Allen a solid sixth in qualifying, Tony Breidinger in seventh, Chris Wright eighth. Dean Thompson, probably one of the more quiet races I've seen him run in the 55. He was ninth, and Christian Rose was 10th. 30 of the 31 cars would make a qualifying run. The 96 of Jackson McLaren did not. So we get to the race. Obviously, we were running before the truck race, so we ran at like 5:30. felt weird being there all day and running a race at 5:30. Definitely used to running a race either at night or very early in the day. So it's kind of a weird time to run it at. But we get going green. We're sitting on the pit box. We're about turn 4. We're about right after turn 4. So I had a good view of the race, which was good. I like that effect. I could still pretty much watch most of the race. Luckily, there's not too much to see in the infield at IRP, so you could pretty well follow the entire race as it was going on. But obviously, William Sawalich gets the jump on the start, as predicted by pretty much everyone. But it was actually LeVar Scott who surprisingly, and I mean surprisingly, took the lead on the start. LeVar Scott took the lead and would actually lead the first 44 laps of the race. We had our first caution only a couple laps in. The 96 of Jackson McLaren definitely was not the best night overall for Jackson McLaren. It would only get worse. This was his first incident of the night. He would spin in turn 2. No damage to the car, not yet at least. But it definitely would not get much better for Jackson McLaren. Again, not his best performance tonight. They would re-rack him up. Brad had only ran 2 laps. It was, I can only imagine what that was like for Brad, because he only ran 2 laps of green, okay? And Brad comes off turn 4. And keep in mind, I don't know if he had any sway bars in the car. He might have had one. I'm not 100% sure. That car looked like it was honestly about to flip over. That's how much it was rolling over. I almost laughed. I think I probably did laugh. I don't honestly remember, but it was funny. Now, he made his 2 laps, mercifully parked it. He was done for the night. It doesn't matter for him. But that left the remaining 30 cars on the track. Now, we did have a couple of other start and parks. I think the only one that was actually, though, confirmed was the 0. That was the only car that was confirmed to be parking early. However, Nate Moeller in the 0 actually ran 79 laps. So, he was a start and park, yes. But he actually ran a decent amount of laps, 79 laps. So we got back going green again after Jackson's spin. And a pretty decent run ensued. And to my, honestly, shock, LeVar Scott not able to keep the lead. Not only able to keep the lead on the restart, but actually pull a decent gap. Obviously at a track like this, you're not going to see a 5-6 second gap. Or, we have seen that, but not like within the leaders. But yeah, LeVar actually kept the lead. And I'm like, man, this is probably one of the first times where we've seen, because I've been critical, for the longtime viewers of this show, I've been critical of, not LeVar Scott, but Rev Racing's short track program, and that it's not the strongest of them. I feel like Rev Racing's intermediate program is actually stronger than their short track program. But yeah, LeVar Scott pulled out to a decent lead until, you'd think, well, maybe William Sawalich caught him, or, maybe Gio Ruggiero caught him. No, it's Connor Zilisch, the 17-year-old who's now 18. He just turned 18, by the way. So a late happy birthday to Connor Zilisch. He's 18 now. Now you're legal, buddy. Woohoo! So good for him. And he went up there past William Sawalich, and he went up there and took the lead. He took the lead on lap 45. And, yeah, it was clear the 6 was good, but as the long run went on, his car began to fade. And again, this is where I feel like Shane Huffman, and that's why I like Connor Zilisch with Shane Huffman. Shane Huffman has been in this business so long as a driver, as a mechanic, as a crew chief. He knows every single part of this business. I honestly, in terms of the lower leagues, I'm not sure who else you would want for a crew chief. He is so good at his job. And I would say, not taking anything away from Connor Zilisch. Absolutely nothing. But, man, Shane Huffman is the best thing to happen to that 2018, man. Such a good crew chief. And he's only making Connor Zilisch even better. And then, unfortunately, we had one of the downer moments of the race. Presley Sora on our team. Very nice kid. I say kid. I think he's barely just younger than me. A year or 2? I'm not even sure Presley's that much younger than me. But this was his first full race attempt. And he was doing a great job. Like, he really was doing a good job. I believe we had an Ilmore in the car. Some of our cars were running Yates. If I'm correct on this, us 0-1. We were Yates. The 11 was a Yates. And then I think the 10, the 99, and the 12 were Ilmores. I know the 12 was an Ilmore, and the 99 was an Ilmore, but I'm not sure if the 10 was an Ilmore. I want to say it was, but I could be wrong on that. But nonetheless, Presley was running an Ilmore. He was doing a great job. I think I don't remember off the top of my head. Was it like, 14th, 15th, 16th, maybe in that area? And then unfortunately appeared. It looked like a tire blew at first because I actually saw the last 3 seconds of the car before he hit the wall. I actually saw him hit the wall. I thought it was just your standard right front tire blowout. I wasn't watching the TV broadcast. Apparently, the left front, something in the left front broke. Left side broke. I think maybe it was a shock. They said what is a shock that broke? But either way, something in the left front broke, and unfortunately, it sent Presley into the wall hard and ended his day, which really does suck because with all the attrition that came in the race towards the end, I think it's safe to say Presley probably could have gotten a top 10 finish. I'm not going to lie. As long as he wasn't involved in any of that late race melee, I think Presley, if not, was going to get a top 10 finish or get like 12th, 11th, maybe around there. So yeah, that sucked to see one of our cars go out, but left shock. Okay, so left front shock. Yeah, and talking to Presley, just went I think he said there was like no real warning about it. So, and that sucks. Luckily, he was okay. Like I said, anytime you see a hit like that, because a hit to the outside wall, can always be concerning. But luckily, from what I saw, he was fine. He said he was fine. So that sucked to see one of our cars go out. Nonetheless, the race continued. Connor Zilisch still leading. And then we get a huge green flag run. Actually, would be the longest green flag run of the race, 43 laps. And God, man, even in this green flag run, the 18 just simply could not run down the 28. It is amazing. For all the years we saw the 20 and the 18 just be the absolute dominant two cars. I mean, that is just not the case in the East Series, at least it's not. The 28, man, and props to Chevrolet for willing to put up the money to compete with Toyota in the series. They always call it a TRD series. But, man, the 28's really taking it to them. And I love it. It's injected a lot of new and much-needed life into the series. But, yeah, William Sawalich, he just couldn't keep up with him. I mean, he was only about a second or two behind, but they simply just could not keep up. Now, they were pulling away from third place. I mean, third place, LeVar Scott was a whopping what? 10 seconds behind the leaders? I mean, it's just amazing how the top two just check out in front of the field. Absolutely check out. So we get to the lap 100 caution, the scheduled break, of course. And this is our one pit stop. And so here's something fun. So I'm supposed to be on rear tires, right? We come in, everybody gets into their stall. Cody gets into a stall fine. Little forward, but, like I said, that's fine. He's never done a pit stop at IRP before. So, you got to cut him some slack there. And we get the signal to go over. I'm full of adrenaline. I'm ready for this. I've done tire changing plenty of times. It's just been a year or two since I've done it, but I've done it at least 5 times. I fly over that wall. Don't worry before I say anything. I tested my gun. It seemed to be just fine. We had plenty of air. I go to hit that first lug, and it's just spitting air. It had no torque. I try again, nothing. I try again, nothing. The gun's broken. So, yeah, that sucks. So the guy, the front tire changer had to come over and change it. And I could put lugs back on, but it had no torque to get them off. It was weird. It was like the gun was like defective or something. And then as we finished the pit stop, somebody on the gun shows me the gun literally has written bad on it. And I'm like, really? We bring a gun to pit road that clearly says bad on it. So I don't know if I was being set up for failure, but what can you do? It happens. I'm like, come on. I rarely get to change tires. And the one time I get to do it, I get a defective pit gun. So, oh, well, I mean, that's my luck. So still had a great time, though, doing it, no matter what. It's always fun flying over the wall. Just thank God it was not a green flag pit stop. Oh, God. I mean, Cody, if you're still watching, thank God you never had to make a green flag pit stop for tires. We would have been so screwed. That would have costed us probably 4 or 5 laps getting that done. So thank God it only happened under brake. Oh, boy. So the race resumed on lap 107. Got back going green again. We had our second big accident of the race only 19 laps later. It was actually on this restart that William Sawalich was actually able to get past Connor Zilisch to get the lead back. Sorry, guys. I'm getting a text from my mother right now. Apparently, my father has a crap load of payroll to do. So hopefully my camera doesn't freeze, but we might have to move this podcast. So please refrain, as I think I'm going to have to take this into my room. So we're going to do this live, and hopefully this goes well. So apologize. Usually I like to do this live, but my camera's probably going to freeze. So I hope this doesn't happen. But yeah, see, I'm wearing a nice Wonder Bread shirt for the occasion. Let's see. Hopefully